Termites are very, very tiny things, about 5 millimeters long. We're looking for them in a large building like this, and it's a little bit like a needle in a haystack. So what can we do to help? Well, we can actually focus on areas within that house where the risk is higher. So we look extra carefully in these areas where we call there are conducive conditions. And they're often related to the design of the building, such as the concrete slab, and sometimes related to other things like drainage or ventilation issues, or more typically in this Melbourne area, landscaping that's too high. We also look for not termites but termite damage, that is timbers that have been hollowed or affected by termites, and the mudworks that termites build, especially in the darkness under a floor. So the first thing is to find damaged timber or termite workings. By sweeping across boards like these, you can tell instantly if there's termite damage in any of those boards. I don't know what it is, it's a particular kind of sound that hits you like an electric shock as soon as you touch termite damaged timbers. It's very distinctive. Well, I found some termite damage here, and it's down here. Now, have a look. You can't see anything, can you? It's not visual. But if I sound it, I told you about the electric shock, just listen to this. You can't mistake it. A little bit of termite damage in the skirting here. But the basic bread and butter kind of inspection is with a sounder, a good torch and a moisture meter. So I will be taking moisture readings here, just as routine, and you've got 14.5% moisture, which is pretty normal in most buildings here in Melbourne. So you've seen the background moisture reading in this house was about 14 to 15%. Well, there's termite damage here. Let's have a look to see what moisture we have in this timber. Wow. So that's going right off the scale. See how dramatic it is? Very, very high moisture levels, over 30%. So where there are live termites, you expect to find high moisture. So I'm using a movement detecting machine here. Now these machines have to be kept stable while they're being used, which is fairly difficult with an above ground timber like this. So I've put on it a little table which is clamped to the beam, and I'll rest the machine on that table and see what we have actually in the timber. And if you look at this screen here on the movement detecting machine, which is actually firing infrared rays into the timber, you'll see we have fairly good movement there. See that little bar chart? It's actually flat out, so we have very strong activity in this timber. Well, I'm going to cut a little slit in this timber to see if we can actually see termites. Now, the first rule if you get termites is don't touch them. But I'm a pest controller, I'm supposed to know what I'm doing, but just notice how careful and gentle I am with these termites. I'm going to cut a slit here in where the timber is papery. It's pretty easy, doesn't take much effort. And if you look carefully, you can actually see a soldier termite in that hole. Can you see him there?
Well, as you saw before, Tom was doing an inspection of the internal part of the house. Just as integral as that is, of course, the subfloor. And this is where we are now. And I've chosen to take you to this particular subfloor because there's a couple of really good examples of where termites gain ingress into the house. So I'll go around and show them to you now and explain as we go. Well, the first example is here, and as you can see we have an internal pine frame that's very, very close to the soil. And the termites have gained ingress up between where the slab edge meets this post here, into this bearer, and then they've made their way all the way up, right up here you can see, and into the internal timbers, the joists, and later on the bearers of the house. And they actually continue into the internal frame up there. So termites also gain ingress by going up the stumps, but of course if there's timber such as this over here, they find it a lot more preferable, a lot easier for them to sort of go up. This is some builder's formwork. Okay, you can see here the bearer and the old formwork here to sort of stabilise it while the sort of mortar and everything else was going up. And they've just used that to sort of fly right up there, and you can see they've done that quite aggressively. And once they're up there, they're into the beams and the joists, and of course the framework, probably on the internal side of the house. Alright, here we are at the back of the patio, and as you can see here, here's the termite mudding, or their tubes, and that's what they used to travel along, to come up the side here, up along the brick pier, and into the old formwork here. And this formwork was placed to sort of hold this corrugated iron, which in turn is holding the concrete patio while it sets to dry. And they've used this formwork to travel along and actually gain ingress, termite ingress, into the internal timbers of the flooring and the internal frame of the house here. And this is pretty prevalent all the way along this patio, and it's pretty impressive.
Alright, well, you've seen us do an inspection here, and you've seen us actually detect live termites in this building. So I'm off now, and I'm going to do the written report. Written reports are done on site on a handheld computer, so it's all nice and quick and we don't forget the detail. We try to make the reports helpful. In other words, it's not just, yes, we found termites, tough. We'll give advice on how the risk to a building can be reduced, and also how it can be protected into the future. In this case, because there's actually an infestation here, we'll also give our client a proposal for treatment of that infestation.